Folks, let's reconvene in open session. I'd like to begin with item B4, the Division of Agriculture and Natural Resources. This is an item that we had been hoping to have before us for some time. So I'd like to invite Vice President Humiston to make a presentation to us and then lead us into a conversation about UNR. ANR.
Thank you, Chairman Perez and members of the board. It is a pleasure to be here today, especially after a couple postponements, but hopefully that just makes the presentation that much better. I've got 18 slides. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on the first few, kind of race through the middle, and then spend a little bit of time on governance and budget at the end, because I know that's where there's a fair amount of questions, and then leave plenty of time for other questions as we go forward. So just to kick it off, quick reminder that most folks probably already know, but we have been here with UC since the very beginning, since it was the California College of Agriculture, Mining, and Mechanical Arts in Oakland. A lot of people don't realize it started in Oakland before it actually moved to Berkeley 5 years later. Two other key programs that affect us that Congress created in 1887 are the agricultural experiment stations, which are predominantly served through Berkeley, Davis, and the Riverside campuses, and then cooperative extension, which was established by Congress in 1914 and is throughout the state. Our mission is very broad. In fact, I would point out that the earlier discussion about the California Dream for everyone, we really are focusing on everyone in the state, all 40 million of California citizens in all 58 counties. As you'll see in a moment on the map, we have offices in most of those counties, and our mission is really, really broad. Food security, healthy natural resources, science literacy. And our second point up there, economic success in a global economy, is really a critical mission point this last several years as California is starting to grapple with how to deal with the two Californias we have out there. Coastal urban areas that tend to be doing quite well, inner areas, the valley and Sierras and et cetera, that are really, really struggling, very high levels of poverty. And the California State Economic Summit for the last several years has been putting a focus on this, as has the new Governor Newsom's administration. We were recently asked, myself as the Vice President of ANR, to co-chair an Elevate Rural California initiative along with the CEO of the RCRC, the Rural Counties Regional Association of California. So the county supervisors from the 38 rural counties, their CEO and I are co-chairing that effort, working very closely with a wide array of partners. This map gives you an idea of where our physical offices are located, and as you can see, they are in virtually every single county. We do serve every county. And we've got a wide array of projects, literally thousands of projects every single year, and research initiatives going on throughout the state. In addition to the county offices, which vary greatly. In some cases, they're an administrative site for the various programs and research support. In some cases, they have laboratories and greenhouses and have their own facilities. It varies a great bit by county. We also have the 9 research extension centers that are scattered throughout the state. They're purposefully located in different parts of the state so that we have access to land and facilities that mimic the various bioregions, ecosystems, and climatic conditions of California for our research. You'll note that we've got 175 advisors out in the field, 115 campus-based specialists, and then 350 community educators. And these are the folks that really are delivering day to day the various programs that I'll show you in just a moment. I will point out, though, that one of the challenges we are dealing with, the number of cooperative extension advisors and specialists, our academics who do research in addition to their extension mission, There are about half as many of them right now as there were 20 years ago. And this is something that we are really working through, trying to turn around and work with our partners in the field to find solutions to getting those folks out in the field and meeting the demands. The Ag Experiment Station, as I mentioned earlier, is Davis, Berkeley, and Riverside. Over 600 researchers on those 3 campuses, most of whom have split appointments for research extension, and some are faculty also in various disciplines. These are our statewide programs and institutes. I've split them into those that make use of volunteers versus the ones on top that don't. We've got, again, an array of them, from our Nutrition Policy Institute, which is doing some amazing work nationally. Largely due to their efforts this past year, USDA's My Plate now includes a glass of water on it. It never used to have water as part of the recommended nutrition, and that's really critical, particularly for young people, trying to get them off juices and sweet drinks and others. Our UC Integrated Pest Management was actually created here in California. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary this past week. We administer, in addition to the California program, which is huge and widely used by an array of partners, we manage IPM on behalf of the 13 western states as well. Our Water Research Institute coordinates water research in California on behalf of not just the university system, but state agencies and other partners. This is a national network. Each state has one of these that receives some funding from Department of Interior's USGS entity. We also have our Ag Issue Center, which does economic analysis and does a great deal of work around cost of production. You see a lot of quotes from Dan Sumner and other members of the center about what certain policies and activities are affecting agriculture and the economy related to it. Informatics and GIS is a program where we're really trying to bring together, on behalf of the entire system, the ability to make use of mapping and data analytics on behalf of our research. Food and nutrition is a huge program. That's one of the programs where we use a lot of those community educators. We provide education in all counties of California to low and very low income families who are eligible for food stamp and school lunch programs on how to stretch those food stamp dollars, how to make more nutritious meals. And lately we're working closely with our medical centers and other partners in really turning that education into an opportunity for wellness, whole family, whole life wellness efforts. And then sustainable ag and research is really focusing on not just sustainable ag in the broadest sense, but really some of the needs of our small and medium size, as well as our beginning farmers out there. I pointed to 4 programs in the bottom because this is something we take a great deal of pride in. These 4 programs right now have amongst them over 26,000 volunteers throughout California, a wide array of individuals. We've calculated that if we had to actually pay those people, it'd be something close to $70 million. And actually, with the new estimates for value of volunteers that just came out from the federal government a few days ago, it would be considerably higher. They've actually upped that number. Many of you probably have known of our 4-H Youth Development Program. I'll get into a couple more details on it later, but it's a growing program in every way in the state, including in our urban areas and in school and after school. Our Master Gardeners, another well-known program, also growing, serving virtually every county. Growing out of it, we now have a formal Master Food Preservers program. And I got to tell you, if you ever get a chance to check out one of those classes, you should. What you'll find is a lot of 20 and 30-somethings who somehow think this is new technology. I don't know about you, but I know my great-great-great-great-grandmother was probably doing canning and food preserving. But it's really coming on strong. People are doing it more and more. And this is critical, particularly, again, for low and low-income families who we are encouraging to do gardening and buy produce in bulk and get to the farmer's market to be able to preserve that food safely so that they're able to enjoy it and also not worry about food safety. Last but not least, our California Naturalist is a program that we created several years ago, working very closely with our UC Natural Reserve System. It was recognized there was a need for the reserve system to have docents and master naturalists that could lead tours and explain things. And increasingly, we're working closely with them to do bio blitzes and bird counts and a wide array of citizen science. One thing I will point out that we're really enjoying this last few years is pushing all of our state program leadership to find new ways to have synergies between the programs, and in particular push opportunities for citizen science. I don't know about you, but I do a lot of public speaking, and I frequently get asked, what are the things that keep me up at night? What really scares me? And one of the answers I pretty much always give lately is how scientifically illiterate our population is becoming. It's frightening. It leads to a host of problems, including some very bad policy decisions in various ways. So I don't know about anybody else, but I'm trying to find a way so that both youth and adults can get their hands in science. And we've got these beautiful programs here. We've tasked all of them with developing that. We also commissioned a report looking where there were opportunities as well. I'm not going to spend time on this slide. Our strategic vision 2025 was something that was in place when I arrived. It had been done off of many, many town halls and public input. Basically dives into how we could organize ourselves around some strategic initiatives. I'll highlight those in the next few slides. Our strategic plan that we did a couple years ago and as part of this overall strategic planning exercise at the Office of the President is really designed to operationalize that strategic vision, to make sure that we don't just have these lofty goals, we actually have plans, metrics, milestones, and budgets to deliver on those goals. And that's what it's really about. The next couple slides highlight those initiatives. I'm just giving you just the tip of the iceberg, really. So for example, our natural ecosystems, big project we're doing a lot with right now is fire. We have fire advisors, forest health advisors around the state. We're working very closely with the state government and federal government on a variety of issues on forest health, fire reduction, pre-fire management, and how homeowners can also improve their safety and community development related to this. One thing I will mention related to the volunteers, people forget that when communities get evacuated, it's not just the people, it's their livestock and their pets as well, who often are not able to go to an evacuation center. What we've been doing the last few years, and we're now expanding the protocols on this, is our 4-H youth volunteer at county fairgrounds to take care of those animals that have been evacuated. This is a really fast-growing program that we have. I mentioned earlier our nutrition programs. Again, this is typical of some of the kind of lessons that we provide out in the community, both out of school, in school, and with a host of NGOs and other partners. Water, in every aspect of water. One of our big projects there, that bottom picture, is we're working with farmers right now on how to facilitate expanded groundwater recharge during the winter rains, because as many of you know, we've really overdrafted our groundwater basins in this state. It's a huge problem. Also water efficiency both on the farm and in urban settings. So we do quite a bit of work with communities and water agencies on that. Sustainable food systems, I mean, this is kind of our bread and butter that we're probably known for best. Making sure that our farmers have new varieties, new technologies, more efficient practices, and just in general, better ways to grow the food that we all rely upon. One of the key growth areas there that we're doing a lot with right now is around ag technology. As agriculture is having a very, very hard time accessing the labor it needs, increasingly we're trying to figure out how we can minimize demands on labor. At the same time, we're working closely, particularly with our community college partners, to make sure that we've got the training available for existing farm workers to move into the kind of slightly higher tech jobs that requires being able to use smartphones and iPads and things like that to manage irrigation systems that are computerized. So both reducing the need, but also making sure existing farm labor has an opportunity to grow and have some professional development. Invasive species is, again, a huge issue. The cost in this state is amazing. I initially, when I came here, I thought joking when I mentioned that it seemed like a new bug comes into this state every single month. And the IPM folks corrected me very quickly that it's actually every 5 weeks. And I'm like, really? I thought I was joking. Every 5 weeks, we get another pest into this. And it's not just bugs of various sorts. One of the big issues really doing serious damage out in the Delta right now is a 20-pound mammal called a nutria. Destroying levees. We're just wreaking havoc with the ecosystem out there. So there's a wide array of invasive and endemic plants and pests and diseases we deal with. I mentioned 4-H earlier. I love the picture at the bottom, our Juntos program. This is where we're reaching out to underserved communities, particularly the Latino community, encouraging them to think about coming to college. And I can say this is something I have a deep personal passion about. I'm the first member of my family to ever go to college, and it is because of 4-H. Without 4-H getting me on a college campus when I was 11 and 12, I don't know that I've ever even thought that was an option. And for these kids, it's the same thing. We bring them to these campuses, we run them through some workshops, and their 4-H projects they do over the years really sets them up for that kind of success and dreaming of going to college. We do work with a wide array of state agencies. In fact, many state agencies rely upon UC A&R and other aspects of UC to provide the research and data and knowledge they need to carry out their missions. I should say that in all of these missions and projects that I've mentioned and our relationships out in the field, we have over 300 contracts, agreements, and MOUs that facilitate our efforts to deliver on these programs. These are just a few program metrics that you got in your packet, and I will point out that you also got another little sheet of just a few snapshots that was in the materials we turned in. These are, again, just tip of the iceberg, a few examples of some of the projects we're working on. Again, thousands of them. We had over 1,700 publications last year, 22 patent applications. In fact, we take a great deal of pride in the fact that although we're less than 1% of the UC budget, we tend to file on average about 4% of the patent applications. And when you look at the technology report at the end of the year, the top patent revenue producers for UC, many of them come out of our shop, new plant varieties in particular. Classes, courses, workshops, more than 250,000 last year, and that grows every year. The last couple slides I have here are really about budget governance and growing for the future. Our budget's tight like everybody else. You've heard about Office of the President, how all of us there are trying to deal with flat and shrinking budgets. In our case, we're really trying to up our game in how we do that extension mission, doing things like more e-courses and making better use of Zoom instead of dragging people out into the field. Although, frankly, if you're going to show them a new plant variety, you probably have to take them out in the field, too. One of the ways we're trying to rebuild our academic footprint is through co-funded positions. I'm pleased to say we have done an array of those this past year, several, and we're talking with several other partners right now, and I can describe those later if you like. We're leveraging funds with our contracts and grants, and we are really looking forward to moving on to UC Path this fall. We're scheduled to go in September. And to Regent Park's point she made earlier about the governance issue, we just finished having an advisory committee that the president assigned to look at how A&R should be positioned within the Office of the President. And they recommended a hybrid model that I think is very appropriate, that in governance structure, it's critical for A&R to remain in the Office of the President and for me to report directly to the President so that we can ensure, as Jack Stobo likes to call it, systemness. That everything we do is done in partnership and in leveraging the 10 campuses, the 5 medical centers, the 3 labs, and all the other array of the UC system. And that's something we do strive to do. However, having said that, clearly there is a need to get our budget teased out of the Office of the President. It is a huge, I'll show you the number in just a second, a huge portion of the Office of the President. And that has created a lot of confusion for folks, especially because we're doing our best to grow that budget through contracts, grants, and other sources. So we've got a new governing council, and let me just jump over here to budget. So here you have our fund sources and uses. This is my second to last slide. I think they're pretty straightforward. Our overall budget is about $214 million this past fiscal year. Of that, the competitive grants and extramurals have been a rapidly growing source. We've been doing our best to do that as state funds have shrunk. And it is the shrinking of those state funds for us that have really caused that lessening of the number of cooperative extension people in the field. Our competitive grants has increased 63% in the last 5 years. And that is largely due to the amazing efforts of our folks writing grants and also the partnerships and leveraging we do. We're also working critically to increase other sources, funds development, sales, fee-for-service type activities. Partially because our county funds are not growing, although in a few counties they are. We do have individual counties who are contracting with us more and more for specific delivery of specific projects. Federal funds are flat at best and in many cases have also been shrinking. And our state funds are critical. That portion of that pie chart is what pays the salaries and benefits of the researchers, the academics, so that they can apply for those competitive grants. This is testimony I provided to Congress a couple years ago when they were looking at the difference between competitive grants versus capacity and infrastructure. And I think it's critical for states to look at that just as much as the federal government. Our fund uses, you can see, are largely based in the counties. This is the advisors that are out there. And one thing that makes California extremely unique nationally, our cooperative extension advisors in those county offices are researchers. They are academics. They're required to have a robust research program. In virtually all other states, when you hear cooperative extension agent, there's somebody that in our state we would consider a community educator. They barely have a bachelor's degree. They're taking knowledge and sharing it. They're not doing their own original research. So in California, that is really an advantage we have as far as facilitating that full spectrum of mission-oriented research and providing a lot of opportunities for our campuses, our researchers from the campuses to interact more with the public. And as you can see, campus-based research is our next largest, followed by statewide programs. Our administration overall is about 8%, and we're still shrinking that a bit through efficiencies. Again, looking forward to UC PATH. That's going to help a bunch for us. We have to work with books from 5 different campuses right now. We are really looking forward to having one set of books. Last but not least, governance. This issue has come up, particularly with the advisory committee. I'm not going to go over the details of this, other than in the upper right-hand corner, you see that sky blue box, UC A&R Governing Council. That is the new governing council recommended by the advisory committee to create an entity that will help us better leverage partnerships with the campuses, external stakeholders, and an array of other partners throughout the UC system. And if there's questions about the rest of this, happy to go into it. Otherwise, I will close out my prepared remarks with just a summary. We've been here 150 years. We're doing our best to be here another 150 and really ensure that all 40 million Californians feel like they are getting something from the UC system. And I think that's really critical. Campus delivery, undergraduate education is one of our top products, but there's a lot of citizens out there that don't have a child in a campus. We've got to make sure they feel like UC is providing for them and then get their support, particularly in this day and age when so much of the general public is questioning the value of higher education in general. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would appreciate answering any questions the regents might have.
Thanks. Regent Lieb.
Well, first of all, I just found no passion in your comments, so it was...
I love my job.
I can tell. And it's an important job. And one of the things that I think, my question is really more geared towards the board and perhaps the chair of the board, which is you do so many valuable things that not only in the agricultural community, but as you highlighted, a lot of times in the urban areas. How do we get this message out to the policymakers, to the legislators who are funding these projects, because it's such a valuable thing that she is doing, that the organization, the group is doing, but most people don't know. Unless you're touched by it, you might not know it's a UC. And I've been I've been all over the state, and I see some of these master gardening things some of the, what do you call it,
Demonstration gardens?
yeah, demonstration gardens, but also, when there's, farmers markets in the rural areas of California. I've seen it, and everybody loves it. The problem is, how do we get the word out so we can fund this better? That's my question to the chair.
And the chair is redirecting the question, and I appreciate you asking questions through the chair. Please feel free to answer.
Well, I will say we are working very closely with our state government relations folks here, because your point's well taken. And it gets into the advocacy network that the president has set up, making sure that we are messaging what we are delivering out in these rural communities. I think you're going to see a much better job from us going forward. One of the things that we have been putting some time on that I didn't mention is really getting our entire system to come into some consensus on public value statements and how to start reporting those as impacts. That's one reason I highlighted this little impact thing I gave you, because one of the problems we've had in the past, and I don't think this is unique to California or to A&R, the academics that are doing this work all too often tend to report, I organized 5 workshops. I had 20 people in a workshop. Well, that's nice, but so what? The way we're trying to get them to start reporting so that we can start messaging better is those 20 people in my classroom, in my workshop, they learned this and implemented it, and that means they're making more money, they're reducing uses of pesticides, they're feeding their family a healthier meal, actual real impacts. And we've just been able to start harnessing those. In fact, I'm thrilled. Just 2 days ago, USDA released their annual report, the National Institute of Food and Ag. And in their vignette stories, we had several from California for the very first time. So I think we are getting those messages out.
And I do think, I guess my comment would be that, you have a lot of people that are benefiting from your services directly. And you're involved in a lot of public policy questions in California. You talked about the fires, nutrition, so forth. I think it's important for you to really activate that network, to go to their legislators and explain to them the benefits of what they're getting. Because I don't know if the California legislature understands all of the things that we're doing in all 58 counties. So
I couldn't agree with you more. And actually, that's a wonderful opening to make sure I don't forget to invite each and every one of you to please allow us to set up a tour for you at one of our facilities to see some of the work so that you too can be a better spokesperson on behalf of this.
And Regent Lee, since you did partially address the question to me, I think your frame is the right one, that there are counties where we don't have a campus, but we have a presence, and drawing attention to the presence and the impact that we have. For those of you who are appointed by the governor, the other place where the governor makes a lot of appointments is to county fair boards. Mm-hmm. And so there's not a county fair in the state that's not impacted by at least some of the programs that you're talking about. So perhaps, because SGR doesn't have enough to do, right, Kiki? Perhaps looking at interventions that are tied to county fairs are another way to get some of that messaging out there. So, Regent Park.
Thank you, Chair Perez. I know I've spoken a lot today, so I'm going to limit my comments, but I just wanted to say how excited I am to hear your presentation. ANR is a part of UC that I know the least about, and just to get sort of this beginning taste of what ANR does and its reach is really exciting to me. In your presentation, I see so many relationships, as you're pointing out, with different systems. Everything that we're talking about with respect to climate change impacts, the pests, it impacts the soil, impacts the water, impacts food systems, all of which ANR touches. And so that's so valuable. All the nutrition programs really intersect with everything that kind of comes through our health system, or all the challenges of our health system in terms of healthy lifestyle and nutrition. And these, that is supposed to be kind of low-hanging fruit, pardon the pun, of things that we can focus on. So I just think, you've really opened my eyes to the importance of A&R to our overall mission and all the public policy problems facing the state. And so I don't have a question, but I just want to say sign me up for a tour, please. I'm really excited to learn more and advocate more for this.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it really was very helpful, and I think it gives us all a lot of ideas of places that we have impacted that I think there were uneven sets of information about. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.